I do you have some slides there that have some pictures on them? Could you pull those up real quick? So, just wanted to take 1 minute and show you what our nonprofit's been doing. A couple things. Keep going. Like I said, we have a global prayer event the last few years. We've had 805 churches. I've got pictures of churches from all around the world joining us in prayer. We've got Uganda and Ohio. We've got Pakistan. We've got Nigeria and the U.S. And then we've been training pastors in India several days a week. So we're able to give them a free digital training. Most of it is live through a translator. We're translating in several languages. We've got about 100 pastors. Some of it, the training is on video, and by using AI, it's me teaching, but it's coming out in their particular dialect. So it's crazy. And what's weird is some of the, I think it's ODI in India, we might say something in 2 words, they say it in like 4 words. So it's a lot of me talking very fast. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a picture of that and show you God is working all over the world. And we sang about it. You know, whatever you have an opportunity to get in on what God's doing. Well, I want you to turn to the guy next to you and say, be a love warrior. Be a love warrior. Be a love warrior. This whole thing on being a man ends up with a command, show love in everything you do. Be a love warrior. We've been talking about loving God. Reverend Brooks talked about, God walks at the speed of relationship, which I think is outstanding. The greatest command, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. God's looking for a relationship, not a religion, from you. Eternal life, Jesus said, is to know me, to have a relationship with me. John 17. So when it comes to God, you need to be a love warrior. Your kids, your wife, your grandkids, your friends, people you work with need to see that you are a man who's not perfect, but you do love God. And they believe that you actually love God more than the Browns, which I don't think is that hard. More than the Buckeyes? No, that would be harder. The Guardians, who I like a lot. But you love God more than anything. Second, we're told and commanded to love our wives. In Ephesians 5, wives are told to submit to their husbands. And then it says, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word. In the same way, husbands ought to go ahead and love their wives. And however, each one of you must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So we're commanded to love and lead our wives. We know we're supposed to lead our wives because God commands them to submit to us, which means you need to be leading in a way that it's easy for them to submit to you. Where it's not, I don't have some lady in my office crying because she's supposed to submit to her husband and he's an idiot. He's making terrible decisions. He's a selfish jerk. You need to lead your family, your finances, your marriage out of love. Your wife needs to believe that you are a love warrior. I wonder if I came back 6 months from now and maybe I don't know, you had a ManUp Conference and my wife was speaking at your conference, say, and I'm out in the lobby selling books and the women all come out and go, I don't know what happened to the men at this men's conference, but since then, my husband is a new man. He's a love warrior. Some of you need to go home and look your wife in the eye and say, baby, as of today, you are married to a love warrior. And I intend to prove it. Love and lead your wife, love and lead your kids. Ephesians 6, he says, fathers, don't exasperate your kids. Don't provoke your kids. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Don't make dumb rules, dumb decisions. Don't be a person who's a hypocrite. Don't be somebody who mistreats your wife, down talks your wife. Love and lead your kids. Your kids should be able to look at you and go, well, he's not perfect, but I know he loves God, and I know he loves my mom, and I know he loves me. Oh, there's a great testimony that was shared a few minutes ago that the son gets engaged and says, you've taught me how to love a woman. That's good. That's a love warrior. Tell the guy next to you, be a love warrior. Now, you're like, what does this exactly mean, being a love warrior? I need help. I'll call it bring your A game. And everything I'm going to tell you begins with an A. First of all, you want to be a love warrior, it begins with attention. Your wife wants your attention. That's what she wants. Put down the remote, turn off the sound or turn off the TV, turn away from the computer. This is amazing. Look at her. Look her in the eye when she's talking. Nod your head. Repeat back the key thing that she said. She should feel heard. You should pay attention. It should not be after she gets her hair cut. It shouldn't be 3 weeks later. Did you get your hair cut? You need to notice these things. Now, if they ask you, do you think I put on weight? That's the only time you're allowed to lie. Or does this, do these pants make my hips look big? Honey, your hips are perfect. I made a decision when I got married, and it's made my life so much easier. I decided at that point my wife was the perfect 10. And from then on, every other woman in the world was a 9 or under. My wife is a perfect 10. She puts something on. She has to try everything on. She brings it home and tries it on again and then another time. And she'll be like, well, what do you think of this? Well, I'm like, that looks good. Honey, everything pretty much looks good on you. Now, I will say, I really like that last thing, but this thing I really like. I think it suits you really well. Pay attention. When my kids were little, this is what they were always saying. Dad, Dad, Dad. Hey, Dad, watch this. Hey, Dad, look at me. They want attention. My dad was a very distracted, distant businessman. And you could never get his attention. I was much younger than my siblings. My brother figured out, we figured out the way to get my dad's attention was get your name in the paper. Now, he got his name in the paper under the police report. That was not the way to do it. I tried to get my name in the paper under the honor roll or something to do with sports. I was just trying to get my dad's attention. Your kids should not have to get on the police report to get your attention. They shouldn't have to get in trouble to get your attention. Pay attention. Attention is a biggie if you're going to be a love warrior. Second is affection. Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to help you out here. You're going to appreciate this. If you want affection in the bedroom, show affection outside the bedroom. The more good affection you have outside the bedroom, the more affection you get in the bedroom. Some of you are now paying attention. Hold your wife's hand. Put your arm around her. When there's a puddle, if there's something, if there's a bunch of people, protect her. Affection. Tell her you love her. You've heard the story of the couple that come in and they want a divorce after 30 years, and the pastor's like, why do you want a divorce? And she says, he doesn't love me. And the pastor asked the husband, do you love her? And he's like, of course I love her. She said, well, you never told me. He said, I told you the day I married you, and if I haven't changed my mind. If I change my mind, I'll let you know. I made a commitment. My dad was not good at saying I love you. He did not. He grew up in the Depression, fought in World War II. He was a good man. It just wasn't his bag. And I made a decision when I got married, and then when I had kids, I would tell my wife, I would tell my kids, I love them every day. Every day. Because I never heard my dad tell me he loved me. When I was 20, finally, I'm at college, and I'm like, I'm going to get him to say it. So this was the day before cell phones or texting. I called home, and my dad answered, and I said, hey, this is Dave. He said, oh, that's great. Let me get your mom. I'm like, that's great. Called again. My dad answered. I said, hey, this is Dave. I love you, Dad. He said, let me get your mom. Next time I called, I talked to him a few minutes. I said, well, Dad, I love you. And he said, well, your mom and I like you quite a bit. And the next time I called, I talked to him a little bit, and I said, hey, Dad, I love you. And he said, I love you. Let me get your mom. I didn't want my kids to have to pull it out of me when they're 20 years old. I knew my dad loved me, but he just didn't grow up in that sort of family. So I tell them I love them every day. You know what's interesting? If my kids call me now, if I don't say it, they'll say it. Love you, Dad. Sometimes I don't say it just to see if they will say it. Sometimes they say it, and I say, I'll go get your mom. Do your kids know that they know that you love them? Does your wife know it? Affirmation. My wife does an incredible lot of things for us, for me. For way long, I just took it for granted. It's interesting. My marriage wasn't where I wanted it to be. And so I started praying. I said, God, change my wife. I prayed that for several weeks. Nothing happened. And I'm like, God, hello, I'm praying, change my wife. Why aren't you answering? He said, that's a wrong prayer. I said, well, what's the right prayer? He said, you should pray, change me. I'm like, what about me needs to change? And he's like, get a piece of paper, right? But basically, I came away with a commitment that I needed to have a decent conversation. My wife needed to feel heard from, and I needed to serve her every day and communicate that I was thankful and I loved her. And in my daily growth plan, that was number 4 on the plan. Get this done. It's amazing. I started getting a better wife. God was changing my wife because he was changing me. If you're the leader, you set the pace. If you don't like it in your home, do something about it. Affirmation. It's interesting. I started telling my wife, thank you. Like, thanks for so much for doing the laundry. I appreciate that. Thanks for folding the laundry. Thanks for fixing this meal. It's incredible. Thanks for buying the groceries. I started thanking her for stuff. She started, cooking better, buying what I want at the grocery store, whatever. Putting my clothes away because I noticed it. I affirmed it in her. Your kids, quit telling them everything they do wrong. Affirm what they do right. When you just watch them, whenever you see them doing something right, applaud it, celebrate it. Give them affirmation. The 4th one is awareness. And then I've got my world, their world, and our world. Okay, in any relationship, there's 3 worlds going on here. There's my world, their world, and then our world. With my wife, there's things she likes to do that I'm not really into. There's things I'm into that she's not really into. But we've spent the last several years of marriage building the things that we like to do together. Our world, building our world. With my sons, when they get around middle school, you need to be in the game because the world is pulling them. Hormones are pulling them. It's a challenge. I can't imagine. I don't want to go through middle school again. So my kids are in middle school. I worked really hard on creating our world, trying to enter into their world, but creating our world. We kind of required our kids to play a sport every year. So my oldest was easy. He liked all the sports I liked. He was an excellent wrestler, all-American wrestler. We had no trouble having our world. My youngest, he's a little outside the box. He liked jiu-jitsu, which I didn't know much about jiu-jitsu. I would take him to practice, but I found out he liked 60s music. So we would listen to 60s music and sing along on the way to practice and back. That became part of our world. My middle son is way outside the box. And he didn't want to, his sport, he wanted to be kayaking. So we bought a kayak, and every week or so, he and I would kayak down the river that went through our town, and that was our world. You need to make an effort to find out where you can connect with your kids, where your life intersects with your wife. Be aware of how this operates. Sometimes we just expect our wife and kids to enter our world. That's selfish. I appreciate my wife. She's become an Ohio State football fan. I don't think it's because she loves football. I think it's because she loves me. Their world, my world, our world. Nod your heads at me. Is this making sense? Let me give you the last one, and that's action. Don't just have good intentions, have good actions. For years, this was like a bone of contention in our marriage. My wife would tell me, we need you to fix this or get that or do something about this. And I would say, yep, I'll get to that. And then I would forget all about it. So about 3 days later, she would go, did you fix that? I mean, it seems like it's still broken. I'd be, oh, I forgot. I got convicted when I was praying God change my wife and he wouldn't listen. Then I started praying God change me. One thing that came up right away is she asked me to do something. God's like, do it now. So that became my little mantra. She asked me to do something and it's like, do it now. Get up and do it right now. That says to her it's important and that means you won't forget it. Do it now. In fact, now she'll tell me something and she'll say, you don't have to do it right now. But to her, that was important. That was communicating love. Take action. Okay, I wanted my kids, I figured if I can't teach them anything else in life but how to love God, then I've probably been fairly successful as a dad. Well, a way to do that is made a commitment. I'm going to pray with my kids every night. There were some seasons where I'd pray with each one of them individually, and there were some seasons where we would all be able to all pray together. Our schedules, worked out that way. Short prayers. This is how we would pray, okay? Everybody goes around, you get one sentence of God, I thank you for, and name a few things. Go around the second time, pray for one thing. If the whole family's praying, pray for the person on your right, what they got going on. 2 sentences, everybody gets in on it. You know what's cool is, I had my sons the other day, and his son was getting ready to go to bed, and he said, Dad, you want to join us for prayer time? Now, Dad, we're going to pray this way. First time, we're going to go around and say thank you. The second time, we're going to ask God for one thing for the person on your right. He said, can you get that, Dad? It's like, I was so blessed. My kids all have a active relationship with God. They serve God. They love God. Good dads. Look, if you want your kids to love God, you need to show them you love God, and you need to take action to lead them to love God. D, love your neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself. Look, it's not enough to go to church on Sunday. We sang about the kingdom, proclaiming the gospel. I think we got a few copies of this book back there. It's called Prayer, Care, Share. And Dr. Wheeler and I actually wrote this book. But it's friendship evangelism. And it's written 2 ways. It's written so that you can win your friends to Christ. First chapter, I tell a story about when we started church in Vegas, my next door neighbor was an atheist. And by only doing prayer, care, and share, within 6 months, he'd been saved. Within 4 years, he became a pastor. Can you say, yay, God? This is biblical. Prayer, pray for lost people, care for lost people, share something about God and the gospel with lost people. The second part of this book is it tells you how to do it as a church. We've got churches do this as a campaign, a week on prayer, a week on care, a week on share. I'm actually preaching at a church tomorrow where we're kicking off their 4-week campaign on prayer, care, share. And we've had Dozens of churches do it. I got a text this week from a church that had their friend day, and they're like, we had the record attendance our church has ever had. We had all these guests. We had all these first-time decisions for Christ. The great thing about Prayer Care Share is a kid can do it. Anybody can do it. Tell the person next to you, you can do it. Love your neighbor. You know, I had a guy in a doctoral class. He said, Dr. Earley, what's the greatest evangelism program? I said, what if we all just loved our neighbor? Really loved our neighbor. I mean, today people don't even know their neighbor. Love your Christian brothers. The reality of the New Testament, it was written to be read corporately. Not as an individual, but as a group. Christianity was meant to be lived in community with other believers. Think about the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not. This is a corporate thing. The command given most in the New Testament is love one another, all through the New Testament. Every author pretty much describes it and then tells us a dozen ways to live it out. Love your Christian brother, and last is love your enemy. Now, I got to be honest with you. It says love your enemies. Love is a choice and a command. It is not a feeling. I like that because it doesn't say like your enemy. Because frankly, I don't like my enemy. But I can choose to love them. And then he even tells you how to love them. He says, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Hurt people, and usually the people that hurt you either do it unintentionally, they didn't realize it, or they're doing it out of their own hurt. Now, occasionally you get hurt by people who are just selfish jerks. But it doesn't differentiate in this verse. You still got to love them. You don't have to like them, but you got to love them. You got to pray for them. You got to do good for them. And you say, well, I can't do it. You don't know what this person has done to me. Well, it says in Ephesians, forgive one another even as Christ has forgiven you. God has forgiven you for Christ's sake. None of us deserve to be forgiven by God. This person, you're saying, they don't deserve to be forgiven. Well, you're supposed to take the undeserved forgiveness you got from God and give that forgiveness to them as Christ has forgiven you. Now, I want to end up here because what happens if you don't deal with hurt and bitterness, your heart is not going to be fully open to God loving your wife, your kids, your neighbors, your brothers. Because that hurt creates a wall, it creates a dead place, it creates a cancer. I think all of you, if we took a lot of time, and we're not going to take a lot of time, and just said, God, who do I need to forgive? Who has hurt me that I've not really forgiven? People would come to mind. Who is it that I just have a lot of negative thoughts and emotions toward? Maybe it's somebody in your church, somebody in your family. Maybe it was a pastor. Maybe it was a teacher, a coach, a family member, a grandparent, your mom and dad. Who do I need to forgive? My oldest son, part of what he does is he's a prison chaplain in the worst prisons in southern Alabama, northern Florida. And last year, we did 7 crusades in 4 prisons in 5 days. And I would get their attention. I'd say the title of this message is How to Escape from Prison. So they would all pay attention. And I said, everybody in this room and actually everybody in the world struggles with 2 prisons. We're trapped in the prison of sin that we can only get out of through Jesus, faith, and we get trapped in the prison of bitterness. And we can only get out of that through forgiveness. And I would tell them the story of the rich king who had a guy who embezzled billions of dollars basically from him that he could never repay. He forgives the guy, and the guy goes to the guy who owes him $100 and doesn't have it and gets him thrown into debtor's prison. So the king finds out about it and goes, "You jerk. I forgave you $1 billion and you wouldn't forgive this guy $100. You go to prison." And he says he turns him over to the torturers. It's funny how bitterness tortures you. Person doesn't have to be in the room. They don't have to be in the building. They don't even have to be alive. But the little worm of what they did goes through your mind. You can't seem to get free of it. The only way out of the prison of bitterness is choosing to forgive. Choosing to give them a forgiveness they might not deserve. Choosing to forgive them because God has forgiven you. I want you to, right now, the first 3 people that come to mind. And you say, well, I'm not sure if I need to forgive them or not. If they come to mind, you probably do. And I want you to think about them, and I want you to think about how they hurt you. And I want you to say to God, I am choosing right now to forgive them. I don't feel like it. I don't really want to, but I am choosing to forgive. First 3 people that come to mind. God, I am choosing to forgive. Let's do it. And maybe the person you need to choose to forgive is yourself. You're saying, God, give me grace to forgive them. And let me tell you, you make that choice, and tomorrow you say, God, who do I need to forgive? You might get the same 3 names. Because if it's a deep hurt, it takes a while to really pull out by the roots the pain and the hurt that this person caused. I had 3 people that I felt like really betrayed me. I had really done them good, and they did me bad. And I would say every morning, God, who is it I need to forgive? Bang, bang, bang. It probably took 2 weeks until they weren't showing up on the radar anymore. It probably took another month before I could actually ask God to bless them. And maybe another month before I could say, God, I need your grace. I need to love them. But I can tell you, God is this good. A year from the event where they betrayed me, I saw them, and without even thinking about it, God gave me grace to just walk up to them and give them a big hug. I mean, that's a God thing. My natural instinct is revenge. Who do you need to forgive? Love your enemy. Love your Christian brothers. Love your neighbor. Love your kids. Love your wife. Love God. Be a love warrior. Let's bow our heads. God, hopefully has said a lot to you today. I would say to God, if I was you, I would say to God, what are the 2 or 3 biggest things I need to take away from today and put into my life? What are the 2 or 3 biggest things I need to change, I need to do, I need to start, I need to stop? What are the 2 or 3 biggest things, God, you had for me today? And then right now, if you'll take somewhere and just write that down. Write down. I need to help me, God. So just take a piece of paper, take your phone, and make a note. God, I need to forgive. God, I need to love. I need to pray with. I need to get in the Word. I need to pray. I need to stay in step with the Holy Spirit. I need to walk in contentment and not discontentment. I need to pursue purity. So right now you can write that down and look at it every day this week. 2 or 3 things God wants you to do or stop doing or start doing. When you've done that, stand up and be prepared to give God the glory.